All right, today's tutorial, we're gonna learn how to write C++ in Visual Studios. I have a project already made, so if you already have one, or if you want to get this project, it's in the description box below. All right, first you open up the project and you click on the send file, so that's for Visual Studios, so you just double click on it. And I already have a project waiting for us. So on this project, we're gonna go over the type of stuff that you write in C++. So let's get started. All right, so usually you have to have include the iOS stream. So that's like for if you're gonna input code and stuff, you gotta have that in your library. You gotta have that included there. And include string. That's like if you're gonna. We'll go into that later with strings. Use namespace std. All right, so that's like for like this part right here. So with SCSD, you have to write that for C++, but some people don't like to do that. They like to use the namespace so you don't have to write it. So let's give it a try. With it there, get the hello world. Okay, so but if you don't have it and you take it out, it's not gonna recognize what it is because of the library thing. So that's why it's best to have it there. So you don't have to keep writing SCD and C out and stuff like that. But this is there for example. So what I'm doing right now is I'm commenting it out with double slash. So basically that allows when it turns green like this, that means the computer is going to ignore it and not going to compile it. So you mostly use it for notes. So as you can see, there's notes here coming out of code that you don't want to be executed. So if you do execute it, you get nothing because we comment out the code things. And when we do the project, it's best to save it. Just save the code. It'll be saved into your file where you created the project. Okay. And there's different ways to comment out your code. This one with a slash and a star slash at the end. So basically that way is when there's multiple lines, instead of you just doing comment, the backslash, you can just do this to comment out your whole code. And another thing that you can use is you can click here to comment out your code and uncomment out your code. So comment it, you highlight your what kind of line of code you want to comment it out, and you can just click here to comment it out. It's doing the multi-line one, but you get what I mean. Okay, so let's get started. As I was saying, after you do that, prototype functions, we'll go into that later. So you basically usually when you start your program, you always start with an int main, and you have brackets with a parentheses list, and have brackets inside to hold your code. The bottom one, we'll go over that later. So that's your main function of your code. So in your code, you have to write certain stuff. So right now we have int score equals 100. So an int is a data type. So with an int, you can basically you make an int, then you name the variable of the data type that score, and you're assigning it 100 or you're initializing it. So int means like whole numbers and only whole numbers. And you can like call this and use it again. We'll move down the line. Float, you give it a name and you initialize it, but you have to add a f at the end of it to let it know that it's a float. But the difference between the float and the int is that floats you can use a decimal point because in int you can't. It has to be a whole number to whole. So think of variables like these as containers. So we're just holding a container that's distance of this number. that has a decimal in it. Let's move on. Boolean. So think of that as true and false, and only true and false. So you something like that you'll use for like if something's true, it will activate something. If it's false, don't activate it. Char, you give it, you assign it, and you get. But this one's char, you have to use quotes, but the one quote, and that's only for character, just one letter. You're holding a variable for one letter. String is similar to char, but strings is more than one letters. Like you have like a good amount of letters you can use. So, for instance, game over, but you need to use two quotations. You need to use quotes, two. All right, so we already assigned each data type its own numbers and true and false and stuff like that. So let's hit play, see what happens. Okay, none of them showed up. So why is that? Because we this is like the back end, like it's there. The variables are stored. They're there, but we have to make it in a way that so the user can see them. So to do that, that's where you have to activate the library and use cout. And cout means like taking some kind of data and put it in on the screen for the users to see. So I'm commenting out this code right here. Okay, so we have cout. You gotta use double quotation, no double greater than, no less than. Yeah, less than. And we're doing score to represent the variable that we have here, but this score is the one that they're gonna see, the word score. And doing it this way is like hard coding it. That's saying that we're not gonna use any variables to represent our numbers and stuff or letters. We're just writing it out there. So we have score. So when we compile this, they're gonna see the score that's here. And notice I didn't have to write int again because I already assigned. I already have the data type. It knows that score is that, and it's holding 100. Same for distance, and same for shield up and play again and game text. So let's compile this and see what we get. Okay. You notice that they're together, kind of close. So that's based on how we did this, the string. So this could be fixed. So let's undo that. So if I put in space in it, that represents the string. File again and gives us space in the stuff. As you can see, is we have the string here that we have over here, and now we have the score. Even though it's as words here, that's for us to understand, and the computer will compile it as what it originally is, the variable that we assign to it. So make it easy us for to read it, and computer will compile it as the code that it is, like zeros and ones. Okay. So since I wrote all this line of code, that's kind of a lot. And what if I want to like use it again? That seems like a lot of cutting, pasting, and writing it again and stuff like that. So what you can do is I'm coming out this code here. What you can use is something called void function or method. So to activate this, first you will have to create it, give it a name. You got to give it a name and end it with parentheses less and call it void. and then you gotta bring it outside the main, so the method or function. What were we calling it? Method. So no, we'll call it a function. So you make the function. So I already have the code up here that we had up there, down here, exact same thing. But the difference between that is we took that up here and put it here, but I made some changes to it. So that's another thing you can do. You can like change the code. You can, even though you're assigned to one thing, you can like change the assignment to something else. All right. So once you create your void, so the void means that you're not returning anything. It's just gonna execute this block of code here, so you can use it. So I'm coming out this part right here, and this is how you will call it. You just give it the name with the parentheses less and a semicolon. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind when you write codes in your main and anywhere else, that you're ending the code. You have to end the code. You have to end it with a semicolon. If not, the computer will let you know you will get an error. Okay, so let's execute this code. See what we get. All right, we got the same thing that we have here. The score is 50, distance 99, still is 0. Okay, so 0 means, so even though we said true or false, when the computer executed, it means either 1 or 0. So 1 is true, 0 is false. And we have to play again, and that's and the game text. Right. Okay, so that's with a function, with a void, with a function. So another thing that's similar to that one is int second test function. So this one is similar to the function, but this one is different. It's not a void, it's an int. So that means this whole function here is designed to return an int. So, and you have parameters in it. So parameters are like holders of of a number that you're going to input in, and this function is going to return something. Whatever you put in is going to return something else. So right now we have an int I and an int a. So that means once we plug something in there, it has to be an int. So, and you can, so up here it's like a prototype. Like you got to give it the name of each function before you initialize it to for you to use. So you give it a title. You make another name of it, the exact same name, and you put things into it, so you can reuse it later or anytime. So this was an int second test function. You give it a name. You give it its parameters. So we said int I and int a. So remember, ints are like whole numbers. So we have to, when we use this, we have to put in whole numbers. So it's gonna take those whole numbers. So we made another int here. This is like I said, they are like variables and they're like containers. So we can hold it. So we're saying that I and a plus each other will equal answer. So that means whatever answer we get is gonna hold it in an answer. And then we told it to return it. So that means that's the output. That's what it's gonna give us when we call on it. When we put the parameters in it. So whatever, when I am plus a, whatever answer you get, it's gonna go here, and then it's gonna return it when we call upon the test function. So let's give that a try. All right, so we have. Okay, we're gonna see the word score, and then we're gonna get the test function. So we're saying, hey, we're calling on a test function here. I'll put score, so it's taking the score from here because it's an int. And if you put something there that doesn't belong there, you're gonna get an error. And with the comma, you're saying and this too. So 50. So we're hard coding the word. We're hard coding the number 50. It's gonna accept it because 50 is an int. So when I compile this, I should we won't be seeing this. We're going to see the results of this. Okay, so let's see what we get. Score is 150. So it worked. And it doesn't have to be int. It can be it could be a float, it could be a boolean, it could be a character, a caret, a char, it could be a string. But it has to return to whatever you call it hit here. So if it's a float, it has to return a float. Your answer got to come back as a float. And that'll be it for learning how to write in C++ in Visual Studios. If you like content like this and would like more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want more information about Magic or more content from Magic or social media, check the description box below and see you in the next tutorial.